Chapter 12 is a brief overview of different kinds of therapy, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And some of the main therapies that are out there. A lot of people don't even realize that psychiatrists and psychologists, you go to their office for therapy. Some of them use one kind of therapy and others use other kinds of therapy. They may all be effective, but they're really different in their approach. One kind of therapy is called psychoanalysis. Whenever you hear the word psychoanalysis, you know that that is a specific kind of therapy that's using Freudian theory, based upon Freudian theory, using Freudian methods. And with that, they're going to go all the way back into your childhood and have you talk about all your childhood memories, and they're trying to uncover all those repressed unconscious thoughts that are bothering you from all the way back in childhood. So this is a really long, in-depth kind of therapy. It can take many years. The next kind of therapy is called behavior modification, and Skinner and others were ones that were involved in some of these methods. I love behavior modification. It's really fast therapy. They don't care about your thoughts and feelings. They don't care about your childhood. They're just interested in observable behaviors. And so they say, what behavior are you trying to change? Or what brings you to here today? What are you trying to work on? And they get right to work on whatever issue it is that's concerning you. And so they're not going to go through your childhood or anything like that. So the therapy tends to be pretty fast because they're working on observable behaviors, using reinforcement, using punishment, using other kinds of things. The next kind of therapy is a humanist type of therapy. And it's very warm, caring type of therapy. Carl Rogers and others have been involved with designing the theories behind this type of therapy. They believe that people need more human warmth and understanding and positive regard and all of that. And they think that one of the biggest problems with human beings is our self-concept, that we don't have a high sense of self-worth. And so one of the things they do is to try to help you build up your self-esteem and make you understand that you are a worthy person. Okay. And then the next type of therapy I also find to be really fun and interesting. It's the newest on the scene, and that is cognitive therapy. Unlike humanist therapy that tends to be really warm and empathetic, cognitive therapy tends to be kind of confrontational. And Ellis and Beck or others are behind this type of therapy. With this type of therapy, they challenge the way you think. And so you have to be relatively bright and verbal to understand this type of therapy. You wouldn't use this type of therapy with a psychotic individual. You wouldn't use this type of therapy with a mentally retarded individual. You got to be relatively verbal to understand this type of therapy. But with this therapy, they believe that one of the main reasons that human beings are unhappy, sad, jealous, whatnot, is because of the way we think, that we have distorted, automatic negative thoughts. And so their goal is to help you recognize these thoughts, and they challenge you to replace those thoughts with more positive, more realistic thoughts. And so anyway, that's that type of therapy. And then also there's group therapy. And group therapy is very common out there. You find it in clinics, you find it in hospitals and whatnot. With group therapy, this is when individuals with a like concern come together and share. And it could be maybe, like with Alcoholics Anonymous, where it's a self-help group, or it could be a group that's led by a professional in a hospital or a clinic. And so anyway, and people come with all different kinds of concerns that you can possibly imagine for group therapy. All right, and then the last one is biomedical, and that could involve medication. Thank goodness for medication. We want to go back to the old days when we didn't have that available to help people with psychological problems. Also, it involves ECT, which is electroconvulsive treatment, which is, some people refer to that as shock treatment. That's done today only for one reason, and that is intractable depression that doesn't seem to respond to other types of therapies like drugs. And then there's finally psychosurgery, which is only done in certain cases today, like removing a tumor, or sometimes for epilepsy, they'll tease out those little storm centers and whatnot. Now, in your book, it goes through a great deal of detail about each one of these types of therapies. I'm not going to do that today. But what I am going to do is I'm going to give you one example and show you how that person would be treated if they went to one of these therapists using that therapy versus this one versus that one versus that one. And I think that'll kind of maybe give you kind of a picture about what it's like in those different kinds of therapies. All right, let's say that we have a shy young man, and he is 28 years old, and he would like to meet a nice young woman, date, get married, settle down, and have a family. But as I already told you, he's shy. And so every time he goes to meet a woman, you know, his hands get all sweaty and his mind gets all confused, and he ends up chickening out. And so he thinks, I'm going to go to a shrink. I need to find out what's wrong with me, and I need to find out how I can meet women. And so he flips to the yellow pages and just points his finger on one that happens to be close to his house. Well, he's going to get entirely different therapy depending upon the type of therapist that he goes to. And they may not even say it on the door, I'm a psychoanalytic therapist or so on. They'll just start therapy. But let's say that the person he goes to is a psychoanalytic therapist. They're going to want to go through his entire childhood, and they're going to wonder what devouring witch from your childhood scared you so bad that you're still afraid of women today. Was it your mother? Was it your grandmother? Was it your school teacher? And they're going to want to uncover those thoughts so that you can realize, oh, that's why I'm so afraid, because I had those bad experiences back then. On the other hand, let's say that you went to a behaviorist, a behavior modification specialist, and you went in the door. They're not going to ask you about your childhood or your thoughts or feelings. They're going to say something like, so, you want to meet women. And they're going to start right there. And they'll probably do a shaping exercise. They can't just say, go date women. If you could do that, you'd already be doing that. And so they're probably going to do a shaping exercise. The first week they may say, what we want you to do this week is just introduce yourself to 5 women. All you have to do is say, hi, my name is John. And if you do that, at the end of the week, you get some little reward. The next week, you have to actually strike up a conversation. Nice weather we're having. You know, hopefully you can come up with something more interesting than that. The week after that, perhaps we'll make it a little tougher. You have to actually ask a female, not necessarily for a date, but just for friendship, to do something. You know, maybe somebody in your class, and you say, well, let's go out for coffee to study for that test. Or, I saw that there's this movie I've been wanting to see. You want to go with me? Okay. And so you ask somebody to do something. And if you accomplish that, then you get your reward. And finally then, the last week, you ask out an actual person that you would like to go on a date with. And it doesn't matter whether they say yes or whether they spit in your face. If you ask them out, you did it. You get your reward. And after all, I oftentimes tell people, if you're not dating and you want to date, it's because you're not asking. It's really a numbers game. There are men and women all over the place that would love to go on a date if someone would just ask them. And so anyway, alrighty, so then let's go on over to the next type of therapist. Let's say they went to a humanist door. The humanist is going to right away work on your self-concept. Why is it that you feel that you are so worthless and so low that no woman would want to go out with you? And so we're going to work on building up your self-esteem. All right, then next we're going to go to a cognitive therapist. And let's say that this guy goes in the door to the cognitive therapist. Probably what they're going to do is something to change the way he thinks. And they very well might do a role-playing exercise. I love role-playing. It's a lot of fun, and it's enlightening, in fact. And so they say, the therapist, let's say it's a woman, and we'll pretend like it's me, okay? All right, and so anyway, the guy comes through the door, and he says, I'm shy and I want to meet women. So I say, okay, let's do a role-playing exercise. Let's pretend like this office is a dance. And let's pretend like I'm some pretty young thing. Okay, use your imagination that you would like to dance with and possibly date. And I'm sitting over at that table with a bunch of other young women, okay? Alrighty, so anyway, go out of the door, and he physically has to get up and go out of the door, and then come back in. And come back in as though this was a real dance. And so he comes back in the door, and he does what he usually does. He glues himself on the wall, along with a lot of other people. He's standing on the wall. And so I ask him about what thoughts are going through your mind. And you look over there and you see me and you think, ooh, she's pretty. I'd like to ask her to dance. All right. And then you begin to walk toward me. And as you're walking toward me, what is going through your mind? And you're saying, oh, I don't know, she's pretty and she probably won't want to dance with me and she'll reject me, and make it really obvious, like she'll say, No. And everyone in the place will see that I've been rejected, and all of her friends will be giggling, and I'll have to walk back to the wall with my tail between my legs. Well, let's face it, women, if a guy asks you to dance, would you humiliate him like that? I'm guessing you would not. And so, you know, even if you don't want to dance with him, you might talk to him for a while. It's better to talk to a few people than stand there by yourself all night. And even if you don't want to marry him, you might have a dance with them. Hey, and that's more fun than standing by yourself. You have a few dances. And who knows, what have you got to lose? If you do have that dance, maybe she'll like you, and maybe she will go on a date with you. And so it's about changing your thoughts from, she'll of course reject me in an obvious, open, embarrassing way, to no, she probably won't, and at least it's better than standing on the wall all night. I'll meet some people. All right, and then the next kind of therapy we could look at would be group therapy. Would we put this shy guy in group therapy with a bunch of other shy guys? Sure we would. Of course we would. They oftentimes say takes one to know one. And so you put him in therapy with a bunch of other shy guys, and he's looking across the circle, and some other shy guy says, nobody'd want to go out with me. And he's thinking to himself, or he might even say out loud, what are you talking about? You're fine looking, you got a decent job. If I was a woman, I'd go out with you. And then everybody in the group turns around and says, well, the same to you. All right, so group therapy can be very helpful. All right, the last way is biomedical. Would we drug this guy? Sure we would. Well, I wouldn't, but some people would. They'd give them medication. You've probably heard commercials before about social anxiety and whatnot. In fact, many people, if you come in for therapy, will give you medication, antidepressants or mild tranquilizers or other things to help you calm down. Have you always been this nervous? You know, and they'll give you some medication to help you over the hump till you get used to kind of asking women out because they think you got too much social anxiety. Okay, anyway, that's kind of summing up sort of this chapter and the therapies in it. Also refer to your study guide for extra words that'll help you out when you go to study for your exam.